Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. I hope that you are all having an awesome start to your weekend. And this is a members chat class, everybody. Of course, everyone is welcome to watch. Chayan Kip, nice to see you in the class. Hi Gunkai Ren, and good to see a new member, Jishamal, nice to see you. Make sure you send me an email. I will share my email address in just a moment so that I can hook you up with those perks for the videos and the practice exams. Students, this lesson right now is an IELTS speaking part 2 lesson about a borrowed object. So part 2 of the IELTS speaking section is basically a 1 to 2 minute speech that you have to give to the examiner in your interview. So you're sitting face to face, one-on-one with your IELTS examiner, either in person or via the computer. And you will have some introductions, some questions for part 1. And then after about 5 minutes of some questions and answers, the examiner will show you a list of questions on one topic. And then you have to speak for 1 to 2 minutes on those questions. In this case, today we will be practicing talking about some item, some object that you borrowed from someone in the past. Welcome, Sunantha. Again, this lesson, everyone, is brought to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Visit us there. For general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. These websites are the textbooks for these live classes. So this is our academic IELTS website here with this blue background, and you can join the premium version by clicking this big red button. I just put a box around. And it's a one-time payment for lifetime access. You get all of our practice exams, videos, audio materials for the listening, interactive course. You get an app. You get lots of help. And we are an IDP affiliate, British Council partner, IELTS Test Registration Center. I'm a certified British Council agent. We're world leaders when it comes to preparing you for the IELTS test. For the general version of our website, check out gieltshelp.com, and it's this green background. And again, it's just that big red button. It's a one-time payment. You get lifetime access. And we will be using our websites today as well for speaking with students. So very useful, lots of tools. You will see that shortly as we progress in the class. So check it out. And we still have this discount code Target9 going for that 20% discount. So when you sign up, just click on use discount code on the website and then type in Target9 and you're good to go. You're golden. Also, our apps, Academic IELTS Help, General IELTS Help, those apps you can get from your app store and link them to the web accounts. And you can follow us on Instagram, IELTS_AEhelp and GIELTS Help. We will have schedules, vocabulary, tons more help for you on those websites. And if you still have questions, don't be shy. Just send an email. Again, this is my email address here. So Jishamal, our new member, this is where you want to send an email. Basically, you want to just say, I'm a new member. I have level 2 or tier 2 access. Please hook me up with the videos and the exams. Okay, and then you can also request classes, Jishmal, on topics. We have a nice schedule for you coming this week as well. So right now we've got speaking part 2 followed by speaking part 3. Our speaking part 3 class coming up in a couple hours. That will be for everybody, so everybody can join that chat. So right now, speaking part 2. And it makes sense to do speaking part 3 and speaking part 2 together. We usually finish the week with these classes just because speaking part 3 is connected to speaking part 2. So even if you're not a member, it's a very good idea to watch this class, learn the strategies, and then join in on the fun in speaking part 3 because that will be connected to this topic. Welcome, Amra. Hi, Baljit. So we'll have a light haul class tomorrow, everybody. We haven't done that in about a month, so it's a good time to check that out. Light haul is a teaching platform specifically designed for live teaching. So that is Light Haul there. And it's an excellent way to interact with me through video and audio as well in the class, simulating the real exam. And next week, we've got a full list of classes. Next week, we'll have speaking, reading, writing, and we'll even have a class on Discord. For those gamers out there, you know what I'm talking about. So this is the link here for that Discord class, and you can check that out. That's a Discord event. I'll put that in the chat as well. Okay. And we have a new video. This new video, it's a speaking practice video. It's kind of like a first-person shooter game. You get to practice speaking with me in this video. And we just released this video about 30 minutes ago, so check that out on the channel. It's awesome. So when you have a minute, when you're not in the live class, check out that video. That video matches with our most recent interview video as well, everybody. So it's really cool. Watch the interview first, then do the practice, or vice versa, up to you. And it's a great way to learn new vocabulary. We're always adding new features, new techniques to these videos so that you can learn better and learn faster. So we hope you like it. And when I say we, I mean me and the other hardworking people here in our company, the editors, the camera crew, etc. All right, students, so IELTS speaking, you are in your interview. The examiner asks about you, maybe your hobbies, sports you like to play, and and then the examiner says, okay, that is the end of part 1. We will now continue with part 2. For speaking part 2, I will show you some questions. You will have 1 minute to read the questions, think about your answers, and you can take notes in the 1 minute if you wish. And then you will have 1 to 2 minutes to speak. Talk about an object that you borrowed. Your 1 minute preparation time begins now. Step number 1, you read the question carefully. Pay attention to the category and the tense. So it's an object. When I talk about an object, I have to talk about its appearance, so what it looks like. I have to talk about its origin, where it comes from. Where did I get it? So here I borrowed it, obviously, but who did I borrow it from, right? And then you have to talk about its function. So how does it work? You know, what do you do with it? How do you turn it on? And then you have to talk about its usefulness or its utility. So what do you use it for, right? Okay. And those are basically the most important parts to discuss when you're talking about an object. If you missed that, don't worry, we'll go through that step by step in a bit here. Okay. Members, do you have any questions about talking about an object? So some of you have practiced this in the past. Some of you are new to this discussion. Jishmal, Gunkai Ren, Sanantha, Amra, Baljit, if you have any questions about, you know, well, in part 2, what should I do about this, or what should I do about that? Ask me, okay? So questions are awesome. If you're thinking it, probably some other people are thinking it too, okay? And if they're not, when you say it, they're probably like, oh yeah, that's right. I kind of think about that too. All right, so first step, read the question nice and fast. Talk about an object that you borrowed. What is this item? What did you use it for? When and whom did you borrow it from? Why did you decide to borrow it, and was it useful in the end? So if you kind of pay attention to it, this is the appearance, right? Okay, so what is the item? What does it look like? Okay. What did you use it for is kind of the utility or the usefulness. Okay. When and whom did you borrow it from? That's the origin. Right? Now, the questions on the cue card aren't always in the best order. So that's why I'm telling you, when you answer the question, talk about its appearance first and its origin second. Okay. So you can say something like, I borrowed a pair of scissors from my friend when we were doing a school project. These were special scissors. We are in school for fashion design, and these scissors are long, about 30 centimeters long. They have a special L shape to cut fabric. They're very strong. They can cut through leather. I was making a leather jacket for this project, so I needed these special scissors, right? So I start to describe what these scissors look like, where I got them from, and then how I use them. So that's just a quick kind of approach off the top of my head. Why did you decide to borrow it, and was it useful in the end? So this is your experience with the object. Okay, and that's also another piece to include. So here, the only element that we don't see is its function, like how do we actually use it, okay? So these scissors are used by the right hand. They're right-handed scissors. There are two loops, one for all four fingers, pointer finger to pinky, and one for the thumb, right? So by opening and closing the grip, the scissors can cut. So the way to use the object, that's an important one to keep in mind. Baljit says, no, sir. So no question to think about yet. Gunkai Ren says, it's hard to think about a story. Hi Isa, and hi Masala. Yeah, so of course one kind of concept here is, how do we come up with answers? What do I think about? Especially these days, people tend not to borrow as much as in the past. The culture of borrowing has kind of changed over the years, and it seems like most people seem to have everything they need. Or they don't want to lend and borrow because they're afraid to lose their items. We've become very obsessed with our possessions. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to answer the card. One question that I get sometimes from students, I don't know if any of you have ever thought about this, but if I don't know what to say, can I ask for another card? Or question. Well, I'm sorry to be the one to say this, but the answer is no. Okay. The examiner, so these questions are designed that you should be able to answer it, and if you don't have a real story, you should be able to make up a story. Okay. So even though we might not be borrowing as much these days from each other as in the past, we still do borrow. The examiner will kind of be like, why? It's not, the reason why you cannot ask for another question is because that would not be fair to assess your English level, right? So if you keep asking for a different card until you get the perfect card that you have the perfect story for, then how does that reflect your ability to use English, right? It doesn't, because then you're in the perfect situation for you. And that's not real life. In real life, you don't always have the perfect situation to use your English. You have to use the English in the situation, right? So the answer is no. You have to answer the questions given. Okay. So no, you can't ask for a different card or a different question. It's kind of weird, but yeah, I get that question a lot. Like, if I don't know the answer, can I ask for a different card? And it's like, no, you can't. Okay. All right. So again, step one, we read the card and you read it twice. The reason you read it twice, it's worth reading it twice, it's worth that extra 10 seconds or 5 seconds, is because you have to make sure that you are talking about the right concept. Okay. Now here, and so as we discussed, we're talking about an object. And when we talk about an object, we talk about its appearance. So what does it look like? We talk about its origin. Where does it come from? We talk about its function. Right? So how do you use it? Right? And then we talk about its usefulness. So, you know, what do we use it for? And we can talk about the experience as well. So our own experience with this object. Now, then of course we think about the tense. So in this card, what is the tense that we're focusing on? Is it past, present, or future? Now, some people learn about this, what's called a past, present, future strategy, where it's like, say one sentence about the past, one about the present, one about the future. It's not completely effective, so it doesn't always work. Just be careful about that. This one says, talk about, so again, this question says, or asks, talk about an object that you borrowed, okay? Borrowed is obviously past tense, so here the focus is past. So we're using past simple, past continuous, present perfect, because present perfect shows the past as well. Maybe past perfect. Okay, so that's mostly your focus in this cue card, in your answer. You're not really focusing on anything about the future. The card does not ask you about the future. So remember, students, if you go off topic, there's a good chance that the examiner will stop you. Okay, so in the future, I plan to borrow the similar. The examiner will say, okay, your time is up. They don't have time for irrelevant information. They've got a lot of candidates to examine, right? Okay. Try and keep this isn't a place, so location attendees, not so important here. Okay. Baljit says, sir, can I take like a storytelling approach to describe it vividly? Yeah, so to sound original and to give details, Baljit, is really important, but you have to make sure that you're answering all the questions on the card, and in the big storytelling process, you don't go off topic, or you don't forget to answer some questions. Okay. Baljit says, like the wind was blowing and I could feel the cold breeze touching my face. Yes, you can, but Baljit, you have to be relevant. Okay, so that's a good question by Baljit. So can I make it like a story? This is the question. And the answer here, Baljit, is yes. You should make part 2 a story. Which means it should have a beginning, middle, and an end. The ideas should be connected. And you should include detail. Okay? Absolutely. It is a story, Baljeet. You're right. Okay? However, you must make sure to stay on topic, avoid repetition, and answer all of the questions on the cue card. Okay? So in a nutshell, Baljeet, that is the idea. Okay, so you make it a story, you have a beginning, you have a middle, you have an end, you have structure, you have connection, and you're answering all of the questions on the card. Now this takes practice. Even if you are someone who is very good in English, even if you have a band 7, 8, 9 level of English, this part of IELTS you should practice before you do the test because it is unique. It's not a type of speaking that we practice every day. Okay, so we know that it's an object. We know that it's we know that the tense is past tense in this case, and then the next step is ideas. Okay, so step 3 in your 1-minute preparation time is come up with 2 to 3 good ideas. These can be real or imagined. Okay, do not use cliche or overly popular ideas. Okay, so don't say something like in this one, for example. So don't say, I borrowed my friend's mobile phone. Okay. People love to talk about their phones. It's like their new best friend or their pet dog. Don't do that, because if you are the 100th person for the examiner to talk about borrowing a phone for some purpose, then it's very hard for the examiner not to compare you to other candidates. And if there were some candidates who talked about the phone and they did a really good job, even if you do a good job, it's going to be hard for the examiner not to compare you to those other people who scored 8 or 9 talking about their phone. So don't choose popular items because A, it's kind of boring for the examiner, and B, they might inadvertently, so not on purpose, compare you to other people talking about that object as well, right? So you should try to think of an idea that's kind of original. Now, it doesn't have to be super unique or weird because that's really hard to talk about, but it should be something that's less popular, like it's not the number 1 or number 2 topic for this answer. Okay, so members, give me some ideas. What are some objects that we commonly borrow? Now, think about this. So think about objects that people commonly borrow from each other. Okay, so visualize, picture like what you hear about from your friends or what you see in movies and TV shows, maybe you read about in a book or you saw on the internet. So think about what you borrow often, okay, and think about a couple of different objects. All right, Miss Sala says, borrowed a book from the library. Okay. Sure. Okay. Yeah, sports equipment, Baljeet. That's a very good one. That's very, very common for people to borrow sports equipment. Yeah, cricket bat for practice. Right, why not? It's a very common one, borrowing basketball or borrowing cricket bat for practicing or for having fun or for maybe like a tournament on the weekend. Okay. Baljeet says a Harry Potter book. Yeah, or a paintbrush. for an art project. Yeah, Isa, of course you can tell a made-up story, so an imagined story. And if you can't think of an object that you recently borrowed, that's what you have to do. Okay, Gunkai Ren says money. I wouldn't choose money. Money is like the phone, okay? So phone and money are not a good idea. And it could be hard to talk about as well. Okay, yeah, so raincoat, sure. On a stormy day, maybe you're visiting your friend and suddenly there's a big rainstorm and you have to get home and you don't want to get soaked, so you borrow a raincoat or an umbrella, right? On a stormy day, that's a really good one, okay? I like it. See, now you're thinking, and sometimes, you know, students say like, oh, I can't think of an answer, but when you start to really think about it, then you come up with some really good answers, right? Okay. Gunkai Ren says a wedding dress. Maybe. I don't know. People tend not to. Yeah, they rent. They rent them, right? Borrowed or rent from a library as well. Okay. Umbrella on a stormy day. Rent. The difference with rent is you pay money, right? So careful not to confuse rent with borrow. Okay. So raincoat, umbrella on a stormy day. Okay. Yeah, so Chayan Kip, be careful. Renting a house is not the same as borrowing. Okay, borrow does not equal rent. Borrow is free. Rent, you pay money. So don't confuse those two. If you start talking about renting a house, or renting a wedding dress, the examiner will stop you because you're talking off topic and they realize that you didn't understand the question, okay? So careful with that, okay? Baljit says sugar from the neighbors to make tea or coffee. Possible, Baljit, but you never give that back, right? Okay, good. So there are lots. We also borrow tools, right? So borrow a drill, for example. Or borrow a hammer for fixing or building a doghouse. How about that? Okay. So there are lots of good ideas that you can generate. I like this one, the umbrella on a stormy day. Let's use that one, okay? So we're going to stick with this one today. I think it's a very good one. Okay, umbrella on a stormy day. And now we can take some notes. Okay, so the appearance, what does the umbrella look like? Okay, describe an umbrella for me. What is the appearance of the umbrella? Okay, let's see how you do with this. All right, give me some colors. It's a large umbrella, maybe a golf umbrella. Yeah, it's not a long stick, Chayan Kip, but it's a long shaft. Okay. Rubber grip. All right. Metal and plastic. Lightweight. Sure. I like it, Sanantha. Okay, Isa says striped. Sure. Yeah, try and keep waterproof, I think, is given, right? Okay. When you have a circle, and then you have this line through the middle, what is that line called in math? So what do we call that line? Here, let me do it this way. So what do we call that line? Anybody know? I think for an umbrella, it's good to mention this or good to check this. Yeah, that's right, Masala. It's called the diameter. So like, let's say 1.2 meter diameter. Okay. Yeah. All right, perfect. Radius is half of the diameter, Baljit. So if you're talking about the radius is from the center point out. So that's the radius. When you've got both sides of the radius, then it's the diameter. Okay. All right. So good. There's a reason why we might mention that. You'll see later on. Okay. All right. So that's the appearance. Now, the appearance, don't spend too much time talking about what it looks like, because then you won't have enough time to talk about the rest of the questions, which is very important. So we talk about the appearance, and then we talk about its origin. So when you think about the origin, think about where and when, right? So where and when. So where did I get this umbrella from? When did I get this umbrella? And I'm just making this up myself, and I'm thinking of a typical situation, okay? So I'm visualizing this, I'm picturing this, students, and when you're thinking about your answer, that's what you should do in the 1 minute, is build not only the structure, the vocabulary, but also visualizing it. So see the picture in your head of what you're talking about. Baljit, this is like what you said, the story, right? So telling the story. So I see myself working on a school project with one of my friends who's also my classmate, and suddenly there's just a really big storm and a lot of rain, but I have to get home because it's getting late, right? So origin, friend, classmate. Now school year, it goes from September to June, let's say, for example, right? So maybe this is an end of the year project that we're working on. So it's coming close to the end of the school year. So maybe it's like a heavy spring rain. Let's say it's in April. And I remember that maybe it's Friday because it's the end of the week and we're working on this project together. Okay, so project. All right, so it's April, it's Friday, it's a project, and it's late. We want details, and this is, Baljit, I'm kind of going this direction because we want to make it like a story. So here is where you get to shine, right, with that storytelling. So it's late, it's dark, it's a project, it's maybe like 9 p.m. on a Friday, very difficult to get a taxi, Friday nights especially, right? So 9 p.m. So that's the origin. Okay. Its usefulness. Obviously to stay dry, so that's a given. All right. Why else? Here we go, members, and I don't want to steal your thunder. Steal your thunder means take away your contribution or take away your opportunity to show your English. So I'm borrowing this umbrella, okay, in my head, this concept. I'm borrowing the umbrella. So I'm borrowing this umbrella from my friend, and obviously its utility, its usefulness is to stay dry. What's another reason? So I'm at my friend's house. We're working on a school project. It's getting late. It started to rain really heavy. It's a downpour. I need to get home. I need to get sleep. So I'm going to borrow this umbrella because I want to stay dry. What else does this umbrella help me to do? Okay, what else is the usefulness of this umbrella? Okay, so other than staying dry, and there is, again, this is where you have to be creative, and it's important. Yeah, so Chai and Kip, staying dry and avoiding getting wet is the same idea. So we want different ideas. Why else is this helpful? Think about that, okay? Now, while you think about that, the way to use it, so the function is push a button, pops open, hold it tight above my head, okay? So not a lot there. Okay, not from the sun, not in this case because it's raining. So there's no sun here, okay? It's dark, it's raining. Think outside the box. So what else is this umbrella helping for in the rain, okay? Some of you said that it's striped. Think about that as well. That's another. I can think of at least 4 or 5 more ways that this umbrella is helping me get home. Okay. So we said it's black and white and it has stripes. Think about that, right? Yeah, Baljit says safety. So it's safe. It's visible. In traffic, right? You've got this big black and white umbrella above your head. You're a lot more visible than if you're just walking in the dark rain home, right? So safety in traffic for sure, okay, is one. Maybe save money on the taxi, right? Maybe save time. You don't have to wait for the taxi, okay? It's this kind of information that helps you to get a high band score, students. You have to be able to think outside the box, right? So this umbrella not only helps you to stay dry, but it also keeps you safe in traffic. You're more visible. You don't have to waste money on a taxi. You don't have to wait for the taxi, especially if you don't live too far, right? Or public transit for that matter, okay? And you don't get a cold, right? You don't get wet and sick, okay? Yeah, so visualize, okay? Experience. You got an A+ on the project, return the umbrella. Okay, good. So now you need the next step. This is usually step 5, which is your first sentence. So before the examiner says your time is up, begin speaking. You have to start, okay, with your first sentence when they say this. So before the examiner says your time is up, begin speaking, you must have your first sentence ready, and this has to directly answer the first topic of the cue card. So if the cue card says talk about an object that you borrowed, you have to answer that very directly, okay? You have to say, I distinctly. Distinctly means clearly, okay? I distinctly remember borrowing an umbrella last April from one of my good friends. Okay, now notice how I kept this sentence quite simple. Okay, your first sentence when you answer the cue card should not have mistakes. It sounds really bad if the examiner says, okay, your time is up, please begin speaking, and then your first sentence is like, I distinctly remember being borrowing an umbrella last April from one of my classmates during project starting for the school that we, and it's like, what? It's like, whoa, whoa, breaks. Let's clear, simple, accurate sentence for the first sentence. Let's not make mistakes. Let's make this super, super clear, okay? So I distinctly remember borrowing an umbrella last April from one of my good friends, Tim. Let's call him Tim today. Tim. Okay. All right. Amra says, an object which I clearly remember borrowing was an umbrella from my classmate Tina about 6 months ago. Fantastic, Amra. Baljit says, I remember my friend lending me an umbrella last month. That is good. Nice paraphrasing, Baljit, with the lending me. So you're borrowing, he is lending. Okay, good. Yeah. Don't go off topic, students. Gunkai Ren, protecting from sun and ultraviolet. No, this is an umbrella. We're using it in the rain. We're protecting ourselves from the downpour. Okay. So it was during April on a Friday night. I was at Tim's house and we were working on our year-end project until about 9 o'clock at night. Okay, so here you're telling the story, just like Baljit says, you're creating the story, but you have to be careful. You have to remember that you have 1 to 2 minutes, so you can't just go off topic into a story that's not related to the question. You have to keep in mind we're talking about an object that we borrowed in this cue card, okay? So all we're doing here is setting up the background a little bit of why we're borrowing it, okay? So it was during April on a Friday night. I was at Tim's house and we were working on our year-end project until about 8 o'clock at night. Then I needed to get back home, but it started raining. Now, there's an expression for this in English. I bet some of you know it, so I don't want to steal your thunder. It's the second time I'm using this idiom, so I'm going to write this down for you. Steal your thunder. This is an idiom that means to take away another person's chance to show that they're really good. Okay, so steal your thunder, it's an idiom that means to take away another person's chance to show their ability. I don't want to steal your thunder, so you can tell me what the idiom is here that I'm looking for. So then I needed to get back home, but it started raining something, a really heavy rain. What's the expression in English? I'll give you a hint. This idiom or this expression includes a couple of animals. And I bet you the yeah, that's right, Isa. Very good. Isa says cats and dogs. Yes, very good, Baljit. Raining cats and dogs. Absolutely. Then I needed to get back home, but it started raining cats and dogs. Okay. Very good. A lot of you know it. So this is never force idioms, students. Like never try to say an idiom in the IELTS just to use an idiom in hopes that you're going to get a good band score. But if you can naturally think of an idiom where you're like, oh yeah, cats and dogs, it was raining cats and dogs, then use it, okay? So then I needed to get back home, but it started raining cats and dogs. So Tim lent me his a black and white striped golf umbrella. help keep me dry. This umbrella is about, now I'm using present tense because it still is, it's general. This umbrella is about 1.5 meters in diameter. So it protected my entire body from the heavy downpour. Okay, downpour is another way to say a lot of rain. It's called a downpour. Down and then like pouring, like you're pouring a drink or something. Okay, so this umbrella is about 1.5 meters in diameter, so it protected my entire body from the downpour. Okay, when I left his house, I pressed the button on the handle. It popped open, and I walked home safely in about 15 minutes. Okay, so all I'm doing at this point, members, is I'm thinking about my notes, I'm using my notes, and I'm incorporating them into my story. So like you said, Baljeet, I'm visualizing this, and I can see myself walking outside, and I have my umbrella, and I push the button on the handle, boop, and it bonk, pops open, and boop, it's above my head, and now I'm walking across the street, 5 blocks up, and then I'm home. Okay, so I'm visualizing it, right? Okay. Gunkai Ren says, I recall that I borrowed a waterproof umbrella on a rainy day from my roommate. Yeah, now Gunkai Ren, so I'm looking at what you have here in the chat. Let me just grab this, okay? So you can see that I'm with you here. Okay, and I'm going to talk about a couple of these, so that's why I grabbed a whole piece of the chat here. Okay. All right, so this is basically our chat plopped right into our lesson here. So here's Gunkai Ren. Gunkai Ren says, apparently. Gunkai Ren, don't say apparently, because then it's like you're not sure. So just take that out and just write, I recall that I borrowed. Now, a waterproof umbrella, that's strange, okay? An umbrella that protects you from the sun and is maybe not waterproof, it's called a parasol, but even those are waterproof. So don't add vocabulary or words that are kind of useless. So Gunkai Ren, don't add waterproof, okay? It's weird to say that. So I borrowed an umbrella. Not in a rainy day, but on a rainy day from my roommate, okay? That's much better. Masala says, the item that I borrowed from my friend John was an umbrella to protect me from rainy weather last month. No at. Okay. Isa, I remember borrowing an umbrella when I was leaving. Okay, not lefting, leaving. Tim's house. After studying together, yeah, studying is with a Y. Studying together in April. At, be specific, Isa, at around 9 o'clock. At night. It was a rainy day, not raining, rainy day. And I had to protect my books. Yes, very good. I like it. And I had to protect my books. Good, Isa. So those are some corrections there, okay? To your English, make sure to note those corrections. Chai and Kip, I have ever been borrowing my classmate lab coats during school break time. Chai and Kip, I'm not sure why you're trying to use have ever been here. It doesn't make sense in this grammar. I had, it's a past. It's not continuing until present. I had borrowed. My classmates, let's stick with umbrella for our example. During school break to get back home. Chai and Kip, stick to the lesson topic, okay? Don't go off topic here because then it becomes really confusing, especially when it's not accurate grammatically, okay? All right, so don't go completely off topic. Alfred, welcome to our group of members. Nice to have you. Okay, so let's get back to the discussion here. So here's what I have been saying. When I left his house, I pressed the button on the handle, it popped open, and I walked home safely in about 15 minutes. It was reassuring to know that the drivers could clearly or could see me better because of the big umbrella. Also, I was able to save time and money not having to when we call a cab or when we catch a cab, right? Those are some good words. How about when you're waving at the cab, like taxi, you're whistling and you're waving. What do we say? What is the verb for that, students? So just a little bit of vocabulary check here. So what's the verb for waving to get a taxi? Anybody know what it is? Starts with an H. And another way to say taxi is cab, or in the old days they used to say taxi cab. Now we just say taxi or we say cab, and when we wave or we kind of whistle to get the cab, it's called what? What are we actually doing? What's the verb? This is that kind of vocabulary that gets you those higher band scores like band 8s, band 9s, are knowing these kinds of unique verbs. Baljit says, I don't know. It's a short word, 3 more letters, starts with an H. It's hail. Hail a taxi or hail a cab. Yeah, that's right, Amra. Hail. Hail a cab. So also I was able to save time and money not having to hail a cab. Okay. Good. Not to mention that if I had ran through the rain and got soaked, I could have caught a cold and my school books would have been drenched. Okay, there's some more nice descriptive storytelling for you there. So at this point, I want to make sure that I'm answering all of the questions on the cue card. So I look at the cue card and I kind of check them off, okay? So here I'm like, okay, talk about an object that you borrowed. Umbrella, check. What is this item? It's a large golf umbrella, check. What did you use it for? To get home in the rain, check. When and whom did you borrow it from? My classmate, my friend Tim. April, 9 p.m., check. Why did you decide to borrow it and was it useful in the end? Check. So it looks like I've answered all of the questions on the card and I still have time. I've done a really good job and the examiner is still kind of looking at me like, hey, I really like this story. Let's keep it going. Right? This is nice. It's a good story. What happened? So they're kind of still looking at you. So what do? And this is when sometimes candidates start to repeat the same information. So I borrowed this umbrella. So instead of repeating this information, just give a nice conclusion to the story that tells the examiner that you're done speaking. Okay? And you can do it like this. When you borrow an item, what happens? In the end, you give it back, right? So I was extremely grateful that Tim was able to lend me his umbrella. And I brought it to school next day and gave it back to him. On a closing note, we ended up with a 95% grade on our final project. Okay. Notice this nice expression here. Only use this if you are 100% sure that you answered all the questions on the cue card. On a closing note. This literally tells the examiner that you're finishing what you're saying. Okay, it's an expression. It's a really good one. But only use this if you're 100% sure that you've answered all the questions on the card. So only use this if you are 100% sure you answered every question on the card clearly, and you have been talking for at least 90 seconds. Okay, if the examiner still hasn't stopped you, then you can use this expression, on a closing note. Okay, and this means as a final mention. You can even think about it as in conclusion. Okay, we usually don't say, well, sometimes we say in conclusion in verbal communication, but in conclusion, a little bit more used in writing than in speaking. We often say on a closing note or as a final note. Okay, on a closing note as a final note. Okay. Means in conclusion. Okay, viewers, members, let's take a look at this. Let's just see what we did right now. Here we go. So this is the cue card right here. Okay. Repeat, speak, copy me. IELTS speaking part 2. Talk about an object that you borrowed. What is this item? What did you use it for? When and whom did you borrow it from? Why did you decide to borrow it? And was it useful in the end? Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking. Copy, repeat after me, students. I distinctly remember borrowing an umbrella last April from one of my good friends, Tim. It was during April on Friday night. I was at Tim's house and we were working on our year-end project until about 9 o'clock at night. Then I needed to get back home, but it started raining cats and dogs. So Tim lent me his black and white striped golf umbrella to help keep me dry. This umbrella is about 1.5 meters in diameter, so it protected my entire body from the heavy downpour. When I left his house, I pressed the button on the handle, it popped open, and I walked home safely in about 15 minutes. It was reassuring to know that the drivers could see me better because of the big umbrella. Also, I was able to save time and money not having to hail a cab. Not to mention that if I had ran through the rain and got soaked, I could have caught a cold and my school books would have been drenched. I was extremely grateful that Tim was able to lend me his umbrella, and I brought it to school the next day and gave it back to him. On a closing note, we ended up with a 95% grade on our final project. Okay, your time is up. I will stop you there. And now for part 3, I will ask you some questions related to the topic of part 2. Okay? And that's how it's done, students. That's how you talk about borrowing an umbrella. And now I want to hear you talk about this. So let's do a bit of practice speaking, everyone. So just like in past classes, when we practice part 2, here's your chance to practice part 2 with me. Okay? Now, members, viewers, go to aehelp.com, our website. That's where we can talk to each other. You see, I just put my headphones on so I can listen to the students. Get into your My Student account and then click on the Student Partner Speaking button. It's a blue button. Turn on your microphone. Okay, make sure it's on. Make sure it's connected, enabled. You will see a blue envelope with me. My name will be Master. And then just write, say, I want to try this part 2. I want to talk about an item that I borrowed. Okay. So website, this one, aehelp.com. Okay. Again, it's aehelp.com. All right. Click the big red button to join the premium package, or this green button to try it for free. And then you will have a My Student account. In your My Student account, click this blue Student Partner Speaking button, that one there. Okay. Once you click that, accept Start Speaking. If the browser says, do you want to let this website use your microphone? Say yes. Okay, otherwise you won't be able to speak with me. And then we've got a good list of students already in here. So we've got Ranjan, Domenico, Sanantha, Dilip, Antarleen, Doyoung, Yash, Isadora, Karimov, Shublam, Vivek, Dilip. Sanantha, members have first choice because it's a members chat class. Our next class, speaking part 3, it's an everyone chat class, but I will give chances to people if I don't see members volunteering. Okay, so I see Baljit is in here as well. Okay, Unterleen, I'm not, if you're a member but I don't know it, let me know. Say I am a member, and then we'll see. Okay, Unterleen, would you like to try? Baljit, I just see that you volunteered, but I've already engaged Unterleen, so hang in there. If you're a member, let me know as quickly as possible. Okay, so are you ready to try, or are you ready to speak? Don't try, just do, right? Are you ready to speak, Unterleen? Alfred, go to our website, create an account, click on Student Partner Speaking, and you're good to go. Okay, that's how you join. If it's confusing, Alfred, let me know. All right, Unterleen. Hello, Unterleen. I can...
Sir.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, sir.
There you are. How are you?
Yes, sir.
Unterleen, make sure to mute YouTube, okay?
Okay.
All right. Okay, Unterleen, I can hear you. I think the connection is so-so. Hopefully we can do this. Which country are you calling from?
Sir, I'm calling from India, the central part of India.
Central part of India. Okay, Unterleen. Why are you taking IELTS?
Sir, I want to pursue my higher studies in Canada. I actually want to study postgraduate diploma in chemistry.
Okay, nice answer. Awesome. Well, let's do a bit of practice with speaking part 2. I'll show you the question and then start you off. So here we go. So this is IELTS speaking part 2. Here's the question on the screen. Talk about an object that you borrowed. Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
So I remember a book that I borrowed from my friend. His name is Herman, and the book name was Ikigai. It's an amazing book. It showed me a lot of perspectives, how to live your life with prosperity, and how to find your goal. And that helped me a lot in my life. I remember borrowing a book in like 3 years ago, and I returned it just after a couple of days. Um, I eventually I started looking for that book because I saw a lot about it at that time. So it made me curious. What is it that so many people are reading this book? So I looked it up on internet, and eventually my friend came to me, and in talk, he told me that I have this book. You don't need to buy it. So I took it from him and I gave him one of my book. So I read it. It's an amazing book. It is wrote by two French authors. I don't know their name. Yeah, but they did a great job. I really like the book. I remember at that time I was in depression. Yeah, but this book helped me to overcome that, and I learned a lot of things like yoga and how to eat a balanced diet. Uh, on a closing note, I would say this book is amazing, and everyone who is looking to find their goal in life should read it.
Okay, your time is up. I will stop you there. And we will now continue with part 3. Okay, very nice. Yeah, that was great. Good job. Okay, first of all, your band score. So I got some of your speaking. You're nice and fluent, so I wasn't able to type all of what you said, but I got some. I got some of the key parts. Right away, okay, I would say that you are a band 7 to 7.5. Okay, I think some examiners will give you maybe a 7.5. Some examiners might give you a 7. You're definitely in that 7.75 range, and I think you can probably even get higher. Like you can get up into the band 8 category with just a little bit more practice. Good. Okay, you thought about a book. It was a self-help book. Okay, these kinds of books that you're talking about, it's called a self-help book. Can you repeat after me? Self-help book.
Self-help book.
Yeah, that's the category of this type of book. There are lots of them these days, and this is the self-help book, like The Power of Now is a very common example. Self-help book. So that, that kind of vocabulary was a little bit missing, but that's okay. Overall, your vocabulary, your fluency was very good. You said, so I remember a book that I borrowed from my friend. His name is Harman, and the book's name is Ikiman, I thought it was, but it doesn't matter.
Ikigai.
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 Okay.
Yes, sir.
Ikigai, maybe like that. But again, that doesn't really matter. You can even just make it up. And then you said it showed me how to find your goals. And here you use the word your a couple of times. When you're practicing at home, avoid that word your, okay? So it showed me how to find my goals, right?
Yes, sir.
So don't switch to that second person. Always kind of really focus on controlling the me, my versus you, your, okay?
Sure.
And then you said, I remember borrowing it 3 years ago. And then you said, I returned it after a couple of days. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So here, I'm the examiner, right? I don't know you, okay? And
yes, sir.
I'm curious. So this is the you have to be careful in part 2 to make sure that what you're saying is logical, it makes sense, and it's clear for the examiner, and the examiner doesn't have questions in their head. When you said that you returned it after a couple of days, I had a question in my head right away. I was like, why did you return it after a couple of days, right? You didn't really answer that. So why did you return it after just a couple of days?
Yes, because I don't like keeping other stuff. So I
Okay.
thought that it is probably it would be good if I return it sooner than later.
Did you read the book in a couple of days?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then
I'm a
that's what you
quick
need to
reader.
tell me. That's what you exactly, right? So if the book is great and it's really exciting, maybe you just sat all day, all night reading the book. It was a weekend and you just went through the book quickly. Okay, so you need to tell me that. So I remember borrowing it 3 years ago. I returned it after a couple of days because it was an easy read. We have this expression in English. It was an easy read, and I spent 8 hours of my weekend to finish reading it quickly.
Okay, sir. I will keep that in mind, sir.
Okay,
Thank you a
right.
lot.
Okay, so always think like, what's the question in your listener's head, especially if you say something that's kind of unique or strange, because usually when we borrow books, it's usually for more than a couple of days. Most people borrow books for at least a couple of weeks, right? So if you say something that's not ordinary, that's out of the ordinary, unusual, you have to explain it. Otherwise, the examiner's like, huh? What? A book for a couple of days? So pay attention to that, okay? Now, don't repeat yourself. So you said that it was an amazing book. It was an exciting book. Don't repeat yourself. Instead, give more details. I really liked how you realized that after, and then you gave a little bit of backstory. So you said that at that time, I felt depressed. Not I was in depression. Well, it's okay, but I was feeling depressed. Okay, I was feeling
Yeah.
depressed. I learned a lot of skills. Don't use the word things. I learned a lot of skills like yoga. Okay, avoid the word things. And then you said, on a closing note, that was really good. You've been watching the class. That was good. Okay, and this book was really good. Great. That was really good. I knew you finished. So I was like, okay, your time is up. Yeah, it was really good. Okay, thank you for that. So just a couple of points to improve. Keep practicing. You'll do great.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Okay, bye, Anterline.
Bye, sir.
All right, give him a thumbs up. That was fantastic. Okay. All right, we've got Baljeet, Amra, Sarah, Mohammed. Let's try to get a couple more in there. Let's see if Baljeet is with us here. Baljeet, are you ready? So you can talk about the umbrella like what we practiced in the class. You can talk about a different object like a book, a self-help book. Make sure that if you're, so this is the tricky part of talking about books. If you talk about a book, make sure you know the vocabulary for talking about that book. So if it's a self-help book, you should know the word self-help, right? Okay.
Sir,
Hi, Baljeet. How are you today?
I am doing great, sir. What about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Any plans for the weekend?
Yes, sir. Tomorrow I'm going to play a good cricket match with my friends.
Okay. Are you borrowing anybody's bat or cleats?
Yes, I'm going to borrow a bat from my friend.
Oh, okay.
Definitely.
Good. Yeah. Now, you can't use that as your answer, obviously, in this one. So in this question, why not? Why can't you talk about the bat that you're going to borrow from your friend in this cue card?
Because I am going to, like, it is about the past event.
Yeah, very smart, Balji. Now you're getting it, right? You're paying attention. It's, as they say, the devil's in the details, right? This cue card is past tense. It's asking you talk about an object that you borrowed. So you can't say, I will borrow, because then your tense is off and you're going to lose marks for that. But you can pretend like it already happened and then talk about it in the past, right? So you could do that.
Yes, I'm also going to do that, sir.
No, there you go. See, we're great, as they say, great minds think alike, Baljeet. Okay, then I will start you off and give me a nice full answer. So here we go. Talk about an object that you borrowed. Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
Hmm. I remember last year I borrowed a bat from my friend John because I was a professional cricketer at that time, and I was practicing in nets with my team, and I suddenly got cracked my own bat. So my tournament was just around the corner, and so I had not any bat at that time. So I borrowed a SS bat from my friend, which was a short handle bat, and it was the Master Series bat of SS company. Uh, I was not prepared enough for the competition because I had not my bat. Then I went to the ground on the tournament day, and I practiced with this bat, and I felt that it it is a good bat to play a match, and I scored very well in the tournament, and I even scored a century with this bat. When I played the first ball of tournament, I was so excited that, oh my god, the ball just went away with just a small push. So in the final, uh, I won the tournament. Not only the tournament, but I also won the heart of people by uh, scoring good. So on closing note, uh, it was a perfect item that I borrowed from my friend.
Okay, your time is up. I'll stop you there. All right, got most of it. All right, good. Baljit, that was very good. An easy band 7 for sure. Going towards a 7.5, you just have to be a bit careful with grammar and some awkward language. Overall, the content is great. The structure is great. Don't forget to talk about how you use the bat, right? So grip the handle tightly, swing it kind of like a golf club, contacting the ball on the face and getting a good hit, right? So a little bit about the use of the bat. I'm actually not a big cricket player myself. Here in Victoria, there are actually cricket clubs. There's a couple of really nice ones, but we have so many sports here, and cricket's just not one that I've played much. Although I am interested, it just seems like it's a lot of effort. They're very long games, cricket games. So you have to give me a little bit more clarity on some parts. And you were telling a story, and that was good. Let me go back to what I have here. So you said, I remember last year I borrowed a bat from my friend John. I would introduce that it's a cricket bat right away because there are lots of different types of bats, right? So cricket bat.
Yes.
So I remember last year I borrowed a cricket bat from my friend John because I was a professional cricketer at the time. And then you said, I suddenly cracked my own bat. That was awkward grammar, kind of strange English. I broke, just keep it simple. I broke my bat, okay? Don't overcomplicate unnecessarily. I broke my bat, all right? My tournament was just around the corner. I really liked that expression. That was good for vocabulary. Just around the corner means close in time. So I had no bat at the time, and so I borrowed it from my friend John. It was a bit repetitive, okay? Now you said it was the Master Series bat of the SS company. What does that mean? Is that a good bat, Master Series bat?
Yes, sir. Like it's expensive bat. It's an expensive bat.
How much does it cost?
It's around 100 or two, maybe $12.
Okay,
US
sure.
dollars.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So that's what you need to tell me. Okay, those are the kinds of details. So it was a Master Series bat of the SS company. It is one of the best and very expensive. about $200, which I couldn't afford at the time.
Yes, sir. Actually, I made the notes the same, but I didn't look at them.
I love how you're honest, Baljeet. That's great. Honesty shall set you free, as they say. So honesty will set you free. So you had the notes that it costs around $200 and it was expensive, but you didn't use it. It's a classic mistake. And Baljeet, you just helped a lot of people who are watching and who will see this video, because that's one of the most common big mistakes of part 2 for a lot of candidates. Is they're so nervous, they get so excited about speaking and talking in part 2, they completely forget about the questions on the paper and they forget about their notes, and then they don't use them. So that happened to you, and you know that's you can easily lose like half a band score by that. Okay.
Yes.
So
I indulged myself more in story. So
yeah, you
that's
can't
why.
get lost. You cannot get lost. It's like looking at a map to find your way to your destination. You have to look at the map to make sure that you're still going in the correct place, right? If you forget to look at the map because you're so excited about the scenery and what you're looking at, and this happened to me in the past, the next thing I know, I'm like, where am I? I've driven off completely somewhere else, right? So it's the same idea when we're speaking, right? We have to look at the map, the notes, and make sure that we don't drive off into another location. Not in the IELTS exam anyway. Okay, so overall it was very good. Just watch those kinds of awkward phrasings and use the notes to stay on track, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and good job using this closing note. I see that both of you have done a good job with that, and it's working for you. So that's fantastic. Okay, Baljeet, have an awesome rest of your weekend. I hope to see you in the Light Hall class tomorrow as well. Okay.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Okay.
See you tomorrow,
All right.
sir.
Bye, Baljeet.
Okay.
Baljeet, actually, hopefully I'll see you in the next class too, in our speaking part 3 class. Okay, Amra, another one of our members and unboxing. Amra, let me give Masala a chance because he doesn't really volunteer that much. So I want to see if unboxing is here and we can grab unboxing here. Yeah, so Masala, are you ready? Okay, we've got a little bit more time, so... Alfred says, I'm in. Thank you. All right. Alfred, I don't see you in my... Oh, yeah, there you are. I see you, Alfred. Yep. Okay. Masala, if you're in there. Yeah, okay. Good. Now we're getting members volunteering. Lovely. Okay, members, a little bit faster, right? It's good. Okay. All right, Masala, if you're there, pick it up. All right, Masala, I'm not sure what happened there. I was ringing for quite a while, so just check out the connection there. Chayani, is that you there? Our member, Chayani? Are you ready? Would you like to volunteer? Amra, I've got you in mind as well. Don't worry. Now I'm seeing lots of members coming in, which is fantastic. Mazad, are you a member? I'm not sure. If you're a member and you're not in the chat and I don't know, then let me know, okay? All right, let's see if we can reach out to Chayani.
Sir, how are you?
Hi, Chayani. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Yeah.
Chayani, are you our member, Chayani? Like the Chayani IKP in the members list?
Yes, I am the one of the member.
Okay, that's what I thought. I figured it just the name wasn't matching perfectly, but yeah. And where are you, Chayani? What part of the world are you in?
I'm Indonesia in Jakarta,
Okay,
an
you're
yeah, an
Jakarta.
outskirt of the an outskirt exactly.
On the outskirts. Yeah, it's a huge city, right?
Yeah,
Okay, Chayani, are you ready to practice this part too?
yeah. I'm a little bit confusing.
That's okay. It's totally normal. You have to practice. Okay, the only way to improve is to practice. So Chayani, I will start you off whenever you're ready. Just start. Here we go. Talk about an object that you borrowed. Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
I'm absolutely remember borrowing a lab coat 3 years ago from my close friend Jason. It was during October on Thursday during the break time. I was on my own class and we were preparing for the next class chemistry, and suddenly I forgot to bring my own lab coat. So I need to go to Jason's class to borrow his lab coats. Uh, his white long sleeve lab coats. The lab coat is about 100 150 centimeter length, and it can protect myself from chemical liquid. Uh, when I when I when I wearing this lab coat, uh, there is a liquid try to touch me, then uh, and it can save me from the dangers and also my uniform from the soap. And finally, I got a higher score and I got a A plus from my teacher because I wear an complete equipment during the experiment class. So I'm really grateful and thankful to my close friend Jason.
All right, good. Okay. Excellent. Your time is up. I will stop you there. Nice. Okay, so that would be an easy band 6 to a band 6.5. And you have good ideas, you have good structure. You need to be a little bit more fluent, and you need to have a little bit more accurate language, so with grammar to bring up your score. But overall, it was very good. Okay, so let me just kind of go back and go over what you said. You said, I absolutely remember. We usually don't say that, absolutely remember. We say, I clearly remember, I distinctly remember, but absolutely remember, uncommon. It's a little bit awkward. So just repeat after me. I distinctly remember borrowing a lab coat.
Yeah.
Can you just repeat after me? I distinctly remember borrowing a lab coat.
I distinctly remember borrowing a lab coat.
Yeah, much better. So distinctly remember, okay? From your
Okay.
friend Jason. And you said it was in October, in the first day during break. We were preparing for our next class, and you forgot to bring your lab coat. And it was a long sleeve white lab coat. And then you said, it can protect myself. Simple, just me. It can protect me from chemical liquid spills.
Chemical liquid spill.
Yeah, so there were a few words that were missing from your response, like spill, stain. Do you know the word stain?
I don't know what is it.
So if you spill coffee on yourself, like if I take this coffee and I throw it on my shirt, then I will have a coffee stain.
It's a kind of soak.
Yeah, it's like yes, exactly. So it's like the color that I get from the liquid on my shirt. It's a stain. Okay, so like coffee stain.
Yeah, I understood what
Yeah.
you mean. Yeah.
So it saves my clothing from getting stained. Can you repeat after me? It saves my clothes from getting stained.
It saves my clothes from getting stained.
Yeah. And also, I'm not sure about you, but I in most of the schools that I've been to, and I've done some chemistry labs myself, having a lab coat is actually a requirement. So it's not even an option. You have to have it, right? And that was kind of missing from this conversation for me. This lab coat is a requirement for the class. So I needed the lab coat to be able to participate. Okay, can you repeat after me? So the lab coat is a requirement for the class.
So the lab coat is requirement for the class.
I needed the lab coat to participate.
So I needed a lab coat to be able to participate.
Exactly. So you're doing a good job. Just make sure to keep improving your grammar, your accuracy, and read lots to build your vocabulary so that you can find those specific words that are needed to accurately describe what you're talking about. But you're on the right track by practicing, and I'm really happy that you finally volunteered today. That was awesome.
Thank you, sir, for the feedback.
You're very welcome, China. I hope you come back for the next class for part 3 as well, okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay, bye, Chani.
Thank you and bye.
Okay, that was Chayani. Give her a thumbs up. She did a great job. Amra, I'm out of time, but here's my deal, Amra. And Sarah, Mohammed, Nama, Gunkai, I see you all. Sanantha, I'm keeping those names locked in my brain, and I promise you this, that in our next class, in our speaking part 3 class, which is coming up in 30 minutes, you will get a chance to speak. We have lots of opportunities for speaking in the next class in speaking part 3. So I have to go because I have to set up for that next class, etc. But I'll keep you in mind. So don't forget what you're about to say. Use that information for speaking part 3. Okay, Alfred, I want to hear you next class. Okay, I know you're a new member and I want to hear you. So students, ahelp.com, that's the website that we're using for this. Okay, make sure to join these websites. They are tools and materials for our live classes. So join our premium version by clicking that big red button. It's not expensive. It's lifetime access. That big button above my head there. And the address for the website is aehelp.com. And then you're off to the races. You're golden. Okay, glshelp.com. So come back. Next class, speaking part 3. Lots of talking, lots of speaking. We're going to focus mostly on practice. I promise you this. And then we'll get going. So I'm Adrian. I'm signing out from Victoria for 30 minutes. I'll be back in 30 minutes. That will be a speaking part 3 class talking about borrowing and lending. And that will be an all chat class. Everybody will be able to join the class. Thank you to our new members. By the way, we have a couple new members. Maria, thank you for reminding me of that, for joining. I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.